So guys, although body builds are slowly taking over literally every aspect of Warlock's identity, there is a very strong build for Void Warlocks right now that is primarily focused on just your grenades. This build can be taking advantage of the Forgotten Exotic, the Nothing Manacles, and the newly buffed aspect Chaos Accelerant, which is now also going to be providing you with an additional grenade charge on top of what it already does for your different grenades. So with that all said, let's just jump straight in. First off, with Nothing Manacles, this is the main exotic you're going to need, and the main reason we're using it is for the additional grenade charge it provides, because paired with Chaos Accelerant, you are now able to get 3 grenade charges on Void Warlock, which is absolutely insane. Now, for the actual subclass breakdown itself, we are of course using the Cataclysm Nova Bomb because it's the highest damage version of this super. No brainer really. We're using Healing Rift as well, just for more survivability, alongside Pocket Singularity as it's the only void melee, and of course the Scatter Grenade. Now Scatter Grenade hasn't been really all that useful in past updates, but it did receive quite a large buff alongside the Chaos Accelerant aspect, which we will be taking advantage of. Now for those who don't know, Chaos Accelerant allows you to charge your grenades, making them more deadly and effective. For the Scatter Grenade in particular, submunitions now track to nearby targets, which on top of the additional benefit that Nothing Manacles provides, which is also improved tracking, these things are going to literally hunt down every enemy within sight. So it's a really good combo to use. On top of having 3 charges of this grenade, it's a no-brainer that it's going to be very potent. And of course, the other aspect we need to pair with this is obviously Feed the Void, where defeating a target with a void ability grants Devour. Devour is going to be giving you health whenever you defeat an enemy, and also providing you with additional grenade energy, which feeds right back into your grenade. So get a grenade kill, get more grenade energy, proc Devour, keep on throwing your grenades to constantly keep on getting your grenades back. Now for the fragments here, this is really the staple I think for what a Void Warlock build should be focused around, and the first aspect we're going to use is of course Echo of Persistence, where your void buffs like Invisibility, Overshield and Devour have an increased duration. This is just flat out increasing how long your Devour buff lasts, which is something that you're going to want to keep active all of the time. Then we're also pairing Echo of Undermining, where your void grenades weaken targets. Now sadly, this does present a -20 to your grenade stat, which is really bad, but the weaken effect is very strong. And with our next 2 fragments really ties the build together. That being Echo of Harvest, where defeating a weakened target creates an Orb of Power and a Void Breach, and Echo of Starvation, where picking up a Void Breach or an Orb of Power grants Devour. So you not only need to get ability kills to get Devour, you can also just pick up any orb or void breach you create that will also grant you Devour, which is just really good for this build generally, because if you somehow run out of grenade charges or don't have any abilities ready, you can just create an orb of power with your weapons and proc Devour again and just start the loop over, which is very handy for higher level content if you plan on taking this build into that style of activity. Now for the weapons here, you can really use whatever you want, but if you want to pair this with another fragment that you can use, I would recommend any void damage weapon, because there is one fragment here that will allow you to gain volatile rounds whenever you get a grenade final blow. That being Echo of Instability, where defeating a target with grenades grants volatile rounds to your void weapons. This is going to be a flat out really good benefit with this build. Now sadly, there isn't enough fragment slots to use all of the things that you want here, so you are going to have to trade something out. But if you're a fan of void weapons and want to be getting some free volatile alongside Devour and Weaken, you can throw an Echo of Instability as well. Now me primarily, I'm just using some workhorse weapons here. Mint Retrogrades, really good. Mida Minotaur, also incredibly potent. And then I'm really liking Wolf's Bane. Not necessary for the build, you can literally use whatever weapons you would like, but these are just the ones that I personally like and have been working pretty well for me. Now in terms of the stats for your armor, obviously the higher grenade stat the better, with any stat above 100 for your grenade increasing the damage of these grenades. Now if you can get to 200 grenade, that is obviously the goal here, but I would say anything that is above 100 as you get closer to 200 is going to be doing you just fine. Alongside that, a good enough super stat is also going to be useful, and I do kind of like class a little bit, and weapons is also pretty useful. Health and melee I would say are the least important stats for this build, with the other 4 being mainly what you're going to want, with it being primarily focused on your grenade stat. So the higher you can get that stat, the overall better this build will be. Now then, for the mods here, obviously the Ashes to Asset mod is going to be really good as you gain bonus super energy on grenade kill. We're then also using solar siphon because we're using solar weapons, but if you're using void weapons, you can swap on a solar siphon, or if you're using void weapons, I would highly recommend a harmonic siphon, just so that then you can throw on an additional ashes to assets mod. Then for the gloves here, we're of course using a firepower mod so our grenades generate orbs, and then we're of course using Kickstarter and fastball just for the increased throw distance on our grenades, because being able to lob these things across the map is allowing you to deal with enemies at a further distance, which is always a nice thing to have. For the chest piece here, we are using just any and all resistances, and then for the boots, we're of course using innovation, which is going to be reducing our grenade cooldown each time we pick up an orb of power, and also better already for just additional supportive capabilities. Then for our class item, we're of course using Bomber for more grenade regen and a Reaper mod, so that whenever we use our class ability, our next weapon Final Blow will be granting us an orb of power. Now if you plan on taking this into any damage focused encounters or any boss dealing encounters, I would probably recommend switching out the grenade Kickstarter for any surges there on your boots, but apart from that, there's nothing really else you need to change. Just mainly focus on getting your grenade stat to any level above 100 and focused on grenade focused stat mods. Next, artifact wise, there is nothing here on the current artifact that focuses on the Void subclass, so there's nothing really here that you need to be using. Obviously, with solar weapons being pretty prominent with my build, I'm of course using Radiant Shrapnel and Fever and Chill, but if you want to, you don't really need to use anything here. Obviously, Elemental Overdrive is going to be pretty useful. Picking up an Elemental Pickup or a Tangle grants increased damage to the weapons of the same type. So with you generating Void Breaches, if you're picking up those Void Breaches with Void Weapons equipped, you're going to be getting a nice damage boost there, but that doesn't really change the build too much. It just provides a nice little damage boost with the build, which helps, but isn't really all that mandatory. Elemental Coalescence, which could be decent. Defeating targets has a chance to create an elemental pickup matching your equipped super. So you're going to be generating more Void Breaches there, which also generates more Devour uptime. And apart from that, that's literally the only two mods that are really probably necessary for this build, but obviously not mandatory. This build does function very well without them. So if you're in a future season watching this video, do not worry, this build will still function unless Bungie goes ahead and nerfs Nothing Manacles or any of the things mentioned here in this video. With that said though, that's everything here that I have for you guys with this build. I myself have been really enjoying this build if I don't want to be using any of the OP buddy stuff, because trust me guys, buddy build's absolutely insane. But if you don't like that style of gameplay, this build is going to be so good for you guys if you just want to be more focused on actually throwing your grenades and having more control over the battlefield than compared to something like the automated turret builds. With that said though, that's everything for today's videos. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you did, could leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I would very much appreciate it. And with that all said, I'll see you all in the next one.